The rain hammered against the cracked window panes of the old Brooklyn row house like it was trying to break in, mirroring the storm raging inside Alan's chest. "You're killing me, Ma," he whispered, his voice cracking as he stared at the stack of overdue bills on the kitchen table, the ones his brother had forgotten to mention until now. But she didn't hear him. Hell, she never did, because the front door slammed open, and there was Eddie, his eyes wild, demanding another $5,000 like it was pocket change, his words slicing deeper than any knife. "If you loved this family, you'd do it." What kind of son turns his back on blood? Alan's hands trembled as he shoved the checkbook back into the drawer, the wood splintering under his grip. 20 years in this city, clawing his way from a Queens foster home to a corner office in Midtown. And for what? To be the invisible safety net, the endless wire transfer, the punchline to their American dream. He loved them, God, he did, but love shouldn't feel like drowning. As Eddie's tirade echoed off the peeling wallpaper, Alan's phone buzzed once, twice, a lifeline from across the country, landing in an hour. "We need to talk. Love, Leo." His heart seized. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be pretty. Just maybe, it would finally set him free. The row house on Pacific Street smelled like it always did. Stale coffee, cigarette smoke from Uncle Ray's endless chain smoking, and the faint, acrid tang of regret. Alan had grown up in this maze of narrow hallways and sagging floorboards, back when his mom still dreamed of Broadway and his dad hadn't yet vanished into the haze of cheap whiskey and cheaper excuses. Now, 38, he was the only one left holding the pieces together, or at least trying to. His job as a marketing exec at a boutique firm paid well enough, 6 figures, bonuses that could buy a weekend in the Hamptons, but every dime seemed to vanish into the black hole of family obligations. Eddie paced the linoleum, his work boots leaving muddy tracks that Alan would clean up later, like always. "Come on. It's not like you're hurting. That fancy apartment uptown? The suits? Ma's meds ain't cheap. And the shop's barely scraping by. The auto repair garage Eddie co-owned with their cousin was a money pit, but blaming the economy was easier than admitting he'd bet the rent on a Knicks game last month." Alan rubbed his temples, the migraine blooming like a bruise. "I just sent you $3,000 2 weeks ago, Eddie. For the roof. And before that, Jesus, don't start with the ledger," Eddie snapped, his face reddening under the harsh kitchen fluorescence. "You're the golden boy, right? Married to that hotshot architect out in LA. What's his name, Leo? Bet he's got connections. Hook a guy up." Alan's stomach twisted. Leo. The one good thing in this mess of a life. They'd met 7 years ago at a rooftop bar in Chelsea during Pride Month. Alan nursing a gin and tonic after a brutal client pitch. Leo sketching blueprints on a napkin with that easy smile that lit up the night like the fireworks over the Hudson. 6 months later, they were husbands in a quiet ceremony at City Hall, rings exchanged under the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge. Leo had uprooted his life from the West Coast for Alan, trading palm trees for subway rats. "Because you're my home, babe." But Leo's career had exploded. Big projects. TED Talks. A TEDx gig that led to a solo exhibit in San Francisco. Last month, he jetted off for a 6-week stint consulting on a high-rise in Silicon Valley, promising video calls and "I miss your stubborn-ass texts." Alan had waved him off at JFK with a kiss that lingered too long, whispering, "Don't let the tech bros corrupt you." Now, with Leo's message burning a hole in his pocket, Alan wondered if the distance had finally cracked them open. Their mom shuffled in from the living room, her housecoat hanging loose over her frail frame, the oxygen tank wheezing like an old accordion. Boys, enough. Alan, honey, just this once. Her eyes, milky with cataracts, pleaded in that way that always gutted him. Cancer had eaten away at her fire, leaving only this guilt as currency. Alan's throat tightened. He'd paid for the treatments, the home aids, the experimental drugs that bought her months but cost him his savings. Ma, I can't. The firm's cutting overtime, and my own rent. It was half true. The real bleed was here, in this house. Eddie snorted, grabbing a beer from the fridge, Alan's beer, the craft IPA he'd splurged on after a rare good day. Rent? In this economy? Bullshit. You're just hoarding it for your little. Whatever you two do out there. The slur hung unspoken, the old wound from their Catholic upbringing. The whispers after Alan came out at 22. Eddie had punched him then, called him a freak, but time and desperation had sanded it down to this, tolerance laced with venom. Alan stood, towering over his brother by a good 4 inches, but feeling smaller than ever. Get out, Eddie. Before I say something we both regret. The door banged shut behind him, the echo chasing Alan as he sank onto the threadbare couch, burying his face in his hands. The house creaked around him, secrets settling into the walls like dust. He thought of Leo's laugh, low and warm, the way he'd trace Alan's tattoos, the faded anchor on his forearm from a Navy stint that never happened, the rainbow script on his ribs reading "This too shall pass." Leo had inked his own matching one the day they signed the papers, and it did. God, he needed that now. Hours blurred into a numb haze. Alan microwaved leftovers, Chinese takeout from last Tuesday, picking at lo mein while scrolling job listings on his phone. Freelance gigs. Maybe a pivot to consulting. Anything to stem the tide. Ma had gone to bed early, her snores a ragged symphony through the thin walls. He was midway through a muted episode of The Golden Girls, his guilty comfort, Blanche's sass a balm for lonely nights, when the doorbell buzzed, sharp and insistent. Heart pounding, Alan hauled himself up, peering through the peephole at the distorted figure on the stoop. Rain slicked everything, turning the streetlights into watery halos. He yanked the door open, and there was Leo, drenched to the bone, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, those hazel eyes stormy as the sky. Leo, you're early. I thought. Surprise. Leo cut in, voice rough, stepping inside without invitation. Water pooled at his feet, soaking the welcome mat Ma had crocheted back when she had fingers that didn't shake. He dropped the bag with a thud, shrugging off his coat, revealing the crisp button-down now clinging transparently to his chest. Alan's mouth went dry, desire and dread twisting like smoke. Leo looked wrecked, lines etched deeper around his mouth. Babe, what's wrong? Alan reached out, but Leo sidestepped, hanging the coat on the rickety hall tree. Talk to me. The flight okay? Leo's laugh was bitter, echoing in the narrow foyer. Flight was fine. It's what I found out mid-layover that's got me crossing the country at warp speed. He pulled a thick envelope from his coat pocket, slapping it onto the side table with a wet smack. Open it. Alan's fingers fumbled the clasp, the paper sodden but sturdy. Inside, printouts, bank statements, his emails, forwarded from his work account. There was the wire to Eddie's shop, the check for Ma's copay, the loan to Uncle Ray for his gambling debts. But threaded through it all were transfers from Leo's accounts, subtle, Anonymous deposits into Alan's checking, masking the shortfalls. Leo, how did you? Your password hasn't changed since we met, Leo said flatly, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. I was checking our joint savings for that anniversary trip to Napa. Found the anomalies. Traced it back. His gaze softened. Just a fraction, laced with hurt. Why didn't you tell me? Alan, we're partners. Husbands. Not this. Shame burned hot in Alan's cheeks. I didn't want to burden you. The awards. I thought I could handle it. Family's family, you know? Blood. Leo's eyes flashed. Oh. Look at this. He jabbed a finger at a highlighted line. A $10,000 withdrawal from their emergency fund, routed through Alan's card. Timestamped the day Leo left for Cali. Eddie. For business expenses. And this, another page, an email chain from Ray to Alan, pleading, guilt-tripping, with attachments of fake invoices. Your uncle's been skimming from the garage for years. Eddie's covering it, and you're the fall guy. The room spun. Knees buckling. No. That's not, they wouldn't. But he knew. Deep down, the late-night calls, the excuses, the way Eddie's eyes darted when asked for receipts. Betrayal tasted like bile. I trusted them. Gave everything. Leo closed the distance then, pulling Alan into his arms. Rain and cologne and solid warmth enveloping him. I know. That's what kills me. But it's over. I confronted them, called Eddie from the airport lounge. Told him if he contacts you again, I'll bury him in lawsuits till he's flipping burgers in Jersey. Alan's sob broke free, muffled against Leo's shoulder. You. What, Leo? They're my family. Leo pulled back, cupping Alan's face, thumbs brushing away tears. I'm your family. This, he tapped the envelope, is evidence. Forged docs. Wire fraud potential. I hired a PI on the red eye. Turns out, Ray's got a side hustle fencing parts. Eddie's in on it. They've been using you as their personal ATM since you got that promotion 3 years back. The hook twisted deeper. Alan staggered to the couch. The Golden Girls flickering forgotten on the TV. Sophia dropping one of her zingers about loyalty. Rain lashed the windows, thunder rumbling like laughter from the gods. How had he been so blind? The extra shifts, the skipped vacations, the fights with Leo over money stress that weren't about the market crash. All of it, funneled here, to prop up a house of cards built on his back. I love you, Alan whispered, voice raw. But this, it changes everything. Leo knelt before him, hands on Alan's knees, that architect's precision in his touch, steady, building something new from the ruins. It doesn't change us. It saves us. Pack a bag. We're getting out of here tonight. My place in the village, remember? The one with the view of the park. Ma can go to assisted living. It's covered. No more ghosts. But as Alan nodded, a car door slammed outside, headlights cutting through the downpour. Eddie's truck, idling at the curb. The betrayal wasn't done unfolding. Eddie burst through the door like a freight train, shaking rain from his jacket, his face a mask of fury and fear. What the fuck did you do? Leo, that bullshit call from the airport? You think you can waltz in here, playing white knight? He loomed in the doorway, fists balled, the kitchen light casting long shadows that made him look like a villain from one of those noir flicks Alan binged on bad days. Leo rose slowly, positioning himself between Alan and the storm, his posture all calm authority, the kind honed from boardrooms and construction sites. "Back off, Eddie," Leo said, voice low, edged with steel. "You had your chance to come clean. Alan knows everything now." Alan's pulse thundered in his ears. He clutched the envelope like a shield, the papers crinkling under his fingers. Eddie's eyes flicked to it, then to Alan, and for the first time, there was no brotherly bluster, just naked desperation. "Al, listen. It's not what it looks like. Ray, he got in over his head with some bad bets. The garage was collateral. I was protecting the family name, you know? For Ma. For all of us. Protecting." Alan's voice rose, cracking the air. He stood, legs unsteady but fueled by a rage he'd bottled for years. "You stole from me. From us. That 10 grand? It was for our wedding renewal, the one we postponed because I was tight on cash. You lied, Eddie." Every time. Eddie's shoulders slumped, the fight draining out like the rain from his sleeves. He glanced back at the truck, where their cousin, hell, maybe Ray too, waited in the shadows. "We didn't have anyone else. Dad bailed, remember, left us with nothing but debts and dreams. You're the success story. Oh, the gay kid who made it big. We figured you'd understand." The word gay landed like a slap, casual cruelty wrapped in excuse. Alan flinched, old scars itching, the high school lockers, the church sermons, the night Eddie had cracked his rib with a lesson in manhood. Leo tensed beside him, a low growl building, but Alan waved him off. This was his poison to purge. "Understand? I clawed my way up so I could lift you all, not so you could drag me under. Ma's sick because of the stress you put on her, not me. And now, you've tainted the one pure thing I have left." Leo stepped forward, envelope in hand. "It's over. I've got copies going to the DA tomorrow unless you sign this." He pulled a document from the stack, a confession, notarized template from the PI, outlining restitution and no contact. "Pay back what you took, or face charges. Wire fraud's a felony, Eddie. 5 years minimum." Eddie's laugh was hollow, echoing off the walls. "You Hollywood prick. Think money fixes everything? Al's always been soft. That's why he puts up with your fancy life while we rot here." He jabbed a finger at Alan. "Remember Thanksgiving 18? When I caught you two in the guest room? I could have outed you to the whole block, but I didn't. That's family." Alan's vision blurred with hot tears. Outed. The word alone summoned ghosts. The aunt who stopped calling after the wedding invite, the neighbor's graffiti on their old mailbox. Leo had been his anchor then, wiping the paint with turpentine at 2 a.m., whispering, "They don't get to define us." Now, Eddie's mercy twisted into another chain. "You think silence is a favor? It was control, Eddie. Just like the money. Get out. All of you." The truck revved outside, headlights sweeping the room like searchlights. Eddie hesitated, mouth opening for one last plea, but Leo's glare shut it down. "Go. Before I call the cops right now." Defeated, Eddie backed toward the door, muttering curses under his breath. "You'll regret this, bro. Blood's thicker." "Not anymore," Alan said, the words tasting like freedom and ash. The door clicked shut, and silence crashed in, broken only by the relentless rain. Alan collapsed against Leo, the sobs coming hard now, racking his frame like fever chills. Leo held him through it, murmuring nonsense in that soothing baritone, quotes from Frank Lloyd Wright about foundations, Silly promises of pancakes at dawn. Breathe, babe. It's done. We're done letting them win. But as the adrenaline ebbed, doubt crept in. Alan pulled back, wiping his face on his sleeve. What if they go after Ma? Tell her lies? Turn her against me? His mom, the woman who'd baked him rainbow cookies in secret after he came out, who'd cried at their wedding but pinned a flower to her lapel anyway. She deserved better than this fracture. Leo shook his head, guiding Alan to the couch, their bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. Already handled. I spoke to her nurse this afternoon after the bank calls. She's stable, and I've set up a trust for her care. No strings. Your brother can't touch it. He paused, vulnerability cracking his armor. I should have seen it sooner. Pushed harder when you brushed me off. I was so wrapped up in deadlines. Stop! Alan cupped Leo's jaw, feeling the stubble rasp against his palm. You saved me. Again. Their kiss started tentative, salt of tears mingling, then deepened, hungry, reclaiming. Leo's hands roamed familiar paths, unbuttoning Alan's shirt with the reverence of a man who knew every scar, every story etched in skin. The TV droned on, Rose Nyland prattling about pies, but the world narrowed to this breath and heat, the storm outside paling against the one they'd weathered together. Later, tangled in sheets that smelled of mothballs and memory, Alan traced Leo's ink, the "this too shall pass" curling over his hip. Why'd you really come back early? The truth. Leo propped on an elbow, moonlight filtering through the blinds to gild his features. A dream. Woke up in that sterile hotel, sweating. You were drowning in the East River, and I couldn't reach you. Called it fate or my subconscious screaming. He smirked, but his eyes were serious. Plus, I missed your cooking. That risotto with the lemon zest. Criminal to deprive me. Alan chuckled, the sound rusty but real. Flatterer. Tomorrow, we pack. Village it is. But first, coffee. And a walk in the rain. Clear the cobwebs. Dawn broke gray and sodden. The city stirring with its usual indifferent hum. Sirens wailing distant. Vendors hawking bagels from carts. They stepped out arm in arm. Leo's duffel slung over his shoulder. Alan locking the door on a chapter he'd outgrown. The brownstone loomed behind them, a relic of survival, not sustenance. As they turned the corner toward the F train, Alan's phone lit up, a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Alone. Our Uncle Ray. The last thread, fraying fast. Alan deleted it, leaning into Leo's side. Let it go, Leo murmured, kissing his temple. But deep down, Alan knew ghosts didn't vanish with one storm. They simmered, waiting for the next crack. The village welcomed them like an old friend. Cobblestone streets slick with puddles, the air thick with espresso and exhaust. Leo's apartment, a third-floor walk-up in a pre-war on Bank Street, hadn't changed. Exposed brick walls lined with blueprints, the leather sectional scarred from their movie nights that always devolved into makeouts. The balcony overlooking Washington Square where they danced barefoot to buskers on lazy Sundays. It smelled of cedar and possibility, a far cry from the row house's despair. They crashed hard that first day, sleeping through noon, waking to order Thai from the spot on Bleecker that knew their spicy levels by heart. Over pad CEW and spring rolls, Leo spread the documents across the coffee table, dissecting them like a blueprint. Here's the play. Restitution plan for Ma. Legal separation from the garage, Eddie signs or sinks. And you? Sabbatical. 3 months paid. Remember? Use it to freelance. Breathe. Alan nodded, fork midway to mouth. Breathe. Yeah. Been a while. He thought of the last time, their honeymoon in Provincetown, biking dune trails, Leo sketching him nude against the lighthouse at sunset. Pure, untainted joy. What if they fight it? Sue for emotional distress or some crap? Leo's grin was wolfish. Let M. My firm's pro bono list includes sharks who'd eat them alive. Besides, I've got dirt emails, voicemails. Ray's been pinging bookies from the shop line. He squeezed Alan's thigh under the table. Grounding. We're bulletproof now, but the afternoon brought the reckoning. A knock at the door, sharp, insistent. Alan froze, pad thai turning to lead in his gut. Leo rose, peering through the peephole. It's her. Ma. Heart in his throat. Alan opened the door. There she stood, bundled in a wool coat too big for her frame, oxygen tank on wheels rattling like bones. Her eyes, clearer than he'd seen in months, locked on his. Alan. Leo. Can I come in? They cleared the table in a flurry, brewing tea chamomile, her favorite, while she settled on the couch, surveying the space with quiet approval. Nice. Airy. Like that museum we saw in D.C. No accusations. No tears. Just her. Frail but fierce. Ma. How'd you? Alan started, but she waved him off. Eddie. Called me last night, blubbering. Said you two were ruining everything. She sipped her tea, wincing at the heat. I told him to grow up. Been telling him that since he was knee-high. Relief washed over Alan, mingled with guilt. I'm sorry. For the mess. For not. Hush. Her hand, veined and spotted, covered his. I knew, Alan. About the money. Saw the statements when you left your laptop open last Christmas. Thought it was your way of atoning for leaving, for being. You. The pause hung heavy, but her squeeze was firm. Foolish boy. You're the best thing we made. Eddie and Ray, they're lost in their own storms. But you built a life. With this one, she nodded at Leo, who busied himself with refills, cheeks pink. Leo knelt beside her, voice gentle. Mrs. Kowalski, call me Irene, for God's sake. Your family, she patted his cheek. Take care of him, Leo. He's got my stubborn streak. They talked then, really talked, for the first time in years. About Dad's abandonment, the foster scares, the pride she'd swallowed to love him through it all. I wanted the dream for you boys, she confessed, eyes distant. House, kids, picket fence. But life's not a sitcom. It's this messy, real, tears welled, but she blinked them back. Promise me, no more martyrs. Live for you. Alan hugged her then, the tank humming between them, her heartbeat faint but steady against his chest. Promise. She left after sunset, a cab idling below, Leo helping with the stairs. From the window, they watched her go, taillights fading into the twilight. That went better than expected, Leo said, arms wrapping around Alan from behind. Yeah. Alan leaned back, exhaling. But Ray's text. Think he's next. Leo's chin rested on his shoulder. Let him come. We're ready. Night fell soft over the village, jazz drifting from a sax player in the square. They made love slow that evening, candlelight flickering off the brick, bodies moving like a tide, reclaiming trust inch by inch. Afterward, sated and spent, Alan whispered into the dark, "Thank you for seeing me, all of me." Leo traced his spine. "Always. That's the vow." But dawn brought the shadow. Alan's phone rang at 6 a.m., unknown caller. He answered, voice groggy. "Kowalski, Alan. It's Ray. Don't hang up. Meet me. Alone. Coffee shop on Atlantic. 1 hour. Or I go to the papers." The line died. Alan's blood ran cold. Papers? What the hell did that mean? The coffee shop on Atlantic Avenue was a relic, faded awnings, formica counters scarred by decades of spills, the air thick with the bitter roast of beans ground fresh since Alan was a kid. He arrived early, collar turned up against the chill wind whipping off the Gowanus. Leo's protests echoing in his head. "Don't go. It's a trap." But curiosity or masochism won out. He ordered a black coffee, settling into a corner booth with a view of the door, the envelope's weight in his jacket like a guilty secret. Ray slunk in 10 minutes late, collar popped, eyes darting like a man who'd seen too many cop shows. He was broader than Alan remembered, gut straining his flannel, but the years had hollowed his cheeks, etched worry lines deep as canyons. "Nephew," he grunted, sliding into the seat opposite, forgoing the menu. "Thanks for coming. Cut the crap. Uncle." Alan's voice was steady, schooled from pitch meetings. "What papers? And why the cloak and dagger?" Ray's fingers drummed the table, a tick from his Navy days, same unit Alan had dodged at 18, opting for community college and a barista gig instead. Eddie blabbed about Leo's threats. "But it's bigger than that." He leaned in, breath sour with last night's booze. "I got something on you. Old. From back when you were figuring shit out." Alan's gut clenched. Figuring shit out. Code for the summer after high school, when he'd crashed at Ray's garage apartment, experimenting with a coworker named Jax, kisses in the oil pit, fumbling hands under fluorescent lights. Ray had walked in once, said nothing, but the silence had festered. What? Some faded Polaroid? Blackmail in 2025? Laughable. Ray's smirk was oily. Not a photo. Letters. Yours to Jax. Mailed from my place. Explicit. Real poetic. Your touch like fire. All that. He pulled a Ziploc from his pocket. Yellowed pages inside. Alan's looping scrawl unmistakable even through the plastic. Found em cleaning out storage. Could post them online. Tag the firm. Your hubby. Or, you dropped the charges. Help us out one last time. $20K. For the shop. Nausea roiled. Those letters, raw confessions of a scared kid, penned in the dead of night when the world felt like it was closing in. Jax had ghosted him after, joined the Marines, left Alan with nothing but ink and regret. You'd destroy me for a loan? Alan's whisper was venom. Family, Ray. Remember that. Ray's eyes hardened. Family's what got me here. Bets to pay off Dad's old debts. Your granddad's mess. After he croaked. Eddie's kid, little Mia. She needs braces. School fees. We're drowning. Oh. You're the lifeboat. Alan slid from the booth, tossing a 10 on the table. Burn them. Or I will. He stormed out, the bell jangling like alarm, heart hammering as he speed-dialed Leo. It's worse. Letters. From 98. He's threatening to leak them. Leo was there in 20, hailing a cab from the village like a man on fire. They met at a diner off Flatbush, greasy spoons and vinyl seats, the kind of place where secrets dissolved in the sizzle of hash browns. Leo scanned the Ziploc Ray had slipped him via text. Insurance, the bastard called it, his jaw tightening with each line. "This is gold," he said finally, not looking up. "Not for him. For us. Proof of pattern, extortion, emotional abuse. DA eats this up. But the exposure." Alan stirred his coffee endlessly, the spoon clinking like chains. "Firm's conservative. Clients pull if it hits the feeds. And your rep, the queer icon bullshit they pin on us." Leo reached across, stilling his hand. "Fuck their rep. We're not hiding anymore. Remember our first fight? After the wedding, when your aunt boycotted, you said, 'No more closets.' It's the door slamming shut." His thumb stroked Alan's knuckles. "A lifeline. We lawyer up. Sue for defamation if he leaks. And babe, those letters, they're beautiful. Raw. You at 18. Brave as hell." Heat bloomed in Alan's chest. "Love. Fierce and unyielding." "You're biased." "Damn right." Leo's grin flashed, chasing shadows. "Now." Then we confront the prick. They tracked Ray to the garage that afternoon. A squat brick bunker on Flushing Avenue, air heavy with motor oil and despair. Eddie was there too, wrench in hand, grease-monkeying a '92 Civic like it owed him money. The brothers froze at the sight of them. Leo striding in like he owned the place, Alan a step behind, envelope and letters in tow. "Lawyers incoming," Leo announced, tossing the docs onto a workbench strewn with sockets and rags. "Sign the waiver. Full restitution. Or these go viral, your side hustle with the chop shop, Eddie's bookie trail. Oh, and Ray, those letters, will frame M. Art exhibit. Coming of age in Brooklyn." Eddie's wrench clattered to the concrete. "You wouldn't. Try me." Alan stepped forward, voice steel. "You weaponized my youth against me. My pain. For cash? No more." He met Ray's gaze, unflinching. "Burn them yourself. Or watch me do it." Ray's facade cracked, shoulders sagging as he snatched the Ziploc. The garage office was a closet, filing cabinets, a desk piled with invoices. He lit a Zippo, the flame dancing blue, and held the edges to it. Pages curled, blackening, words of fire and longing turning to ash. "Happy?" he muttered, grinding the remnants under his boot. "Not yet." Leo slid the confession across. "Sign. Then we talk rehab. For you both. Not prison." Eddie scrawled his name first, trembling. "For Ma," he mumbled. Ray followed, the pen scratching like surrender. Outside, the sun broke through clouds, gilding the chain-link fence in gold. Alan exhaled, the weight lifting like fog. "It's over." Leo slung an arm around him. "Epilogue pending. Dinner? That Italian on Smith." As they walked away, the garage shrinking in the rear view of a passing truck, Alan felt the city's pulse anew, horns blaring, vendors shouting, life unspooling without apology. But peace was fleeting. That night, over Chianti and carbonara, Leo's phone buzzed, a voicemail from the PI. "Mr. Hargrove, update on Kowalski family. Turns out, there's a half-sibling. Alan's. From your father-in-law's affair. Lives in Philly. And she's looking for you." Alan's fork paused. Half-sibling, the past, clawing back. The revelation hit like a rogue wave. Alan's dad, Tommy Kowalski, the ghost who'd split when Alan was 8, leaving Polaroids and a stack of Max cards, had strayed. A daughter, 29, named Sarah. Blonde, sharp-eyed in the grainy photo the PI emailed, standing outside a row house in Fishtown. She reached out last month, the gravelly voice continued. DNA test confirmed. Wants to meet. Says it's about inheritance. Your old man's will finally surfaced. Inheritance. The word tasted foreign. Tommy had been a longshoreman, dockworker tales of Atlantic storms. But money? Alan laughed. Hollow. Dad drove a '78 Impala into the ground. What? A stamp collection? Leo set down his glass, concern etching his brow. Or closure. You in. Alan swirled his wine, the red depths mirroring his turmoil. Closure. After the garage showdown, the ashes of those letters, he craved it like air. But family? Again? Philly's a train ride. Yeah. But you come. Backup. The Amtrak hummed north next morning, rain-slick tracks blurring Jersey sprawl into watercolor. Leo sketched in his notebook, abstract lines of bridges and hearts, while Alan stared out, mind replaying Tommy's last words. Be strong, kid. World don't owe you shit. Strong. He'd been that, stealing against the voids. Now, a sister? The universe's cruel joke. Fishtown greeted them with hipster grit, murals on brick, breweries in old warehouses, the Delaware lapping lazy at the piers. Sarah waited at a cafe on Frankfurt, nursing a latte, her posture all coiled energy. Close. The resemblance stunned. Same high cheekbones, Kowalski jaw. Alan, she said, standing, handshake firm. You look like him. The photos. They sat, ordering pierogies and beers, Polish nods to ghosts. Sarah was a teacher, 3rd grade, divorced young, no kids. Found out last year. Mom, his secretary, died. Left letters. He paid support, quietly. Wanted to claim me, but your ma. Complications. Alan's beer soured. Complications. Code for the marriage Tommy torched. Why now? She slid a folder across. Yellowed will. Notarized '09. Life insurance. Lapsed, but cashed posthumously. He died broke, but there's a policy. Split even. Yours and mine. $150,000 each. Leo whistled low. Alan blinked. $150,000. Enough for a down payment, a buffer against the bleed. He provided, in his way. Sarah's smile was wry. Warts and all. Like us. They talked hours, her childhood echoes of his, the ache of absence. No demands, just shared scars. As dusk fell, hugging goodbye felt tentative, real. Stay in touch? She asked. Promise, Alan said, meaning it. Back on the train, Leo pulled him close. Proud of you. Opening the door, Alan nuzzled his neck. Scary as hell. But good. The city lights beckoned south, a constellation of second chances. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm. Alan took the sabbatical, trading boardrooms for coffee-fueled mornings at Leo's drafting table, brainstorming freelance pitches over oat milk lattes from the corner spot. The village pulsed around them, dog walkers in the park, poets reciting at the Strand, the faint thrum of subway beneath their feet. Mornings started with Leo's kisses, lazy and lingering, bodies entwined in sheets that smelled of them, not regret. Afternoons were for calls, the lawyer confirming Eddie's first installment, Ma's nurse reporting brighter days, Sarah texting memes about Kowalski chaos, but the high of reconciliation soured subtle. Leo's projects ramped, late nights on Zoom with Cali clients, blueprints unfurling like worries. Just till the holidays, he'd murmur, pecking Alan's cheek before vanishing into the study. Alan filled the quiet with runs along the Hudson, pounding pavement till his lungs burned, the river's churn mirroring his unease. Was this peace? Or pause? The crack widened at a gallery opening in Chelsea, Leo's exhibit, Urban Veins, celebrating New York's resilient bones. The space hummed. Critics in black turtlenecks sipping Pinot, architects networking under halogen glow. Alan navigated it in a borrowed blazer, charming execs with quips about buildings that breathe, but his eyes tracked Leo magnetic in slim chinos, fielding praise with that disarming grin. Then, across the room, a face from Leo's past. Connor, ex from architecture school, all ivy polish and easy charm. They'd dated pre-Alan, a whirlwind in Boston, late nights in dorms, shared dreams of skylines. Harmless catch-up, Alan told himself, as Connor clapped Leo's shoulder, laughter bubbling low. But the hand lingered, Connor's whisper pulling Leo close, and something primal twisted in Alan's gut. Later, in the cab home, buzzed on free wine, spilled. Who's the golden boy? Looked cozy. Leo blinked, streetlights strobing his face. Connor, ancient history, came to support. Why? Alan's laugh was sharp. Support. Right. The way he touched you, like he owned the map. Leo sighed, rubbing his temple. Jealous? After everything? Babe, it's nothing. Nothing. Alan's voice rose, cab driver glancing in the mirror. You've been distant. Work? Sure. But I see the texts. Late replies. Am I the consolation now that family's off my back? The cab jerked to a halt at their block. Leo paid, silence thick as they climbed the stairs. Inside, he rounded on Alan. Consolation? Jesus. Oh. I flew across the country for you. Hired PIs, lawyered up. And this is what I get? Paranoia? It's not. Alan paced, the rug bunching under his boots. The letters. Raised threat. Stirred shit. What if you see me now, baggage unpacked, messy as hell? And wonder. Leo closed the gap, hands framing Alan's face. I see you. Always have. The kid who wrote poetry to boys in grease-stained envelopes? That's fire. The man who forgave his brother? Strength. His kiss was fierce, claiming, but Alan pulled back. Doubt a chasm. Prove it. Stay home tomorrow. No Zooms. Just us. Leo's nod was reluctant. Deal. But morning brought fracture. Alan woke to empty sheets. Leo's sighed cool. A note on the counter. Emergency consult. Back by lunch. Love you. The words blurred with hurt. He texted Sarah. Family drama 2.0. Advice? Her reply quick. Breathe. Talk. Kowalskis suck at both. The day dragged. Alan sketched logos on napkins, paced the balcony, the park's leaves turning crimson below like spilled blood. By noon, Leo burst in, Tyascu, bearing falafel wraps. Traffic apocalypse. Forgive. They ate on the floor, picnic style. Leo recounting the meeting. A glitch in the Sterling build. Nothing major. Laughter crept back. Tentative. Then a kiss that deepened. Hands exploring like rediscovery. I'm sorry, Alan murmured against Leo's throat. Scared you'll bolt. Like Dad. Like everyone. Leo's fingers stilled. Eyes searching. Never. But you gotta trust us. He paused. Vulnerability raw. Truth? Connor texted last week. Nostalgia trip. I shut it down. For you. Relief flooded. Mingled with shame. Idiot. Me. Ours. Leo grinned, pulling him down. Afternoon dissolved into skin and sighs. The city fading to white noise. Evening brought Ma's call, voice brighter. Meds adjusted. Boys. Thanksgiving, neutral ground. Sarah too. Alan's heart swelled. Yeah. Village table. Big enough. Hanging up. He found Leo on the couch. Scrolling emails. Brow furrowed. What's up? Exhibit follow-up. Museum wants a joint show. You and me, your marketing spin. My designs. Alan's pulse quickened. Collaboration. Hell yes. But as they planned mood boards. Pitches, Alan's phone lit. Eddie. Mia's birthday. Need 500. Please. The old pull. Siren call. He deleted, blocking the number. Leo noticed. Ghost. Exorcised. Alan leaned in. Now. About that joint show. Winter crept in. Frost etching the windows like lace. The village donned its holiday finery. Strings of lights draping brownstones. Chestnuts roasting on carts. The air crisp with pine and promise. Alan's freelance took off. A campaign for a queer-owned bookstore. Billboards popping up in Times Square with taglines that echoed his letters. Words that burn. Stories that bind. Leo's exhibit buzzed. Reviews in the Times calling it a love letter to the city's queer underbelly. Thanksgiving loomed. Patchwork family in the making. Alan shopped the green market, turkey from a local farm, cranberries tart as truth, while Leo wrestled the oven, cursing like a sailor. Sarah arrived first, arms laden with pies, her laugh filling the apartment like sunlight. Philly traffic's a beast. But hey, sibling perk, I brought tasty cakes. Ma rolled in next. Cab fare covered by the trust. Oxygen humming soft. She hugged Sarah tentative. Tommy's eyes. Then Alan fierce. Proud, son. Of this. Gesturing wide. The table groaning. Leo basting. Laughter layering like glaze. Eddie was a no-show, text apology. Vague about work. But Mia came. Ate and gap-toothed. Shy at first. Then blooming under Sarah's jokes. Uncle Al, you got a bridge in your living room? She asked, eyeing Leo's model. He chuckled. Not yet. But soon. The meal unfolded magic. Toasts to absentees. Stories swapped. Ma's Broadway dreams. Sarah's classroom escapades. Leo's tale of their first date. Alan spilling wine down his shirt. Clumsy as ever, Leo teased. Dabbing with a napkin. Their eyes locking in that silent vow. After dishes cleared, they gathered on the balcony. City lights twinkling like fallen stars. Ma leaned on Alan, whispering, he'd love this. Tommy. Messy family. His legacy, Alan replied, throat tight. As snow flurried soft, Leo pulled him aside, breath warm against his ear. Marry me. Again. Vows 2.0. Here, spring. Cherry blossoms. Alan's yes was a breath. Promise. But midnight brought the call hospital. Ma. Shortness of breath. The cancer's quiet coup. They raced cross-down. Sirens parting traffic. Hands clasped white-knuckled. The ER waited sterile. Fluorescent hum mocking holiday cheer. Doctor's words blurred. Palliative. Days. Maybe weeks. Ma lay small in the bed. Monitors beeping steady. Her hand in Alan's. Don't grieve yet. Loves. Got stories left. They camped there. Sarah on a cot. Leo fetching coffees. Mia coloring angels at his knee. Dawn crept. Gray and unforgiving. Alan stepped out for air. Hallway echoing his footsteps. Eddie waited. Slumped on a bench. Eyes red-rimmed. Heard. Came. Can I? Alan nodded. Barriers crumbling. Yeah. For her. Eddie entered. Voice breaking on Ma. Forgiveness hung unspoken. A truce in the bleach-scent air. Days bled into vigil. Ma rallied brief, demanding pierogies, quizzing Sarah on recipes, then faded, stories trailing to whispers. Her last, love hard, boys. It's the only debt worth. She slipped at dusk, hand slack in Alan's, Leo's arm his anchor. Grief crashed, title, but in the hollow, connection bloomed. Eddie stayed, silent penance. Sarah planned the service, fierce as kin. Funeral was Quaker simple, Brooklyn cemetery under bare oaks. Eulogies short. Alan's on resilience, Leo's on chosen blood. Eddie's choked sorry. Ma. Mia scattered petals, pink against gray earth. After, at the wake, village apartment packed with neighbors, old flames, new friends. Alan raised a glass. To Irene. And us. Leo's toast followed, eyes on him, to truths revealed. And love that endures. Nights after were raw sobs in the dark, Leo holding through storms. But spring stirred, cherry blossoms unfurling pink, their renewal vows under the park's canopy. Vows etched deeper, through betrayals, we build. Summer hummed renewal. Alan's book gig launched. Memoir snippets from those letters, anonymized but true, Ashen Anchor. Bestseller in indie circles. Readings packed with faces like his, wounded, wondrous. Leo broke ground on a community center, queer youth hub, Brooklyn roots. For the kids we were, he said, hard hat jaunty. Eddie checked in sporadic rehab, custody steady, Mia thriving. Learning, he'd grunt. Sarah visited monthly, Philly train a bridge. One August Eve, balcony beers, city symphony below. Alan turned to Leo. Shocking truth? We're enough. Leo's kiss sealed it. Always were. Autumn gilded the village once more. Leaves carpeting the paths like confetti from a parade long past. Alan's book tour wrapped in San Francisco. Leo's old stomping grounds. Readings in fog-draped bookstores where fans clutched copies, whispering, "This saved me." Back home, the apartment brimmed. Sarah's artwork on walls. Mia's finger paint masterpieces taped to the fridge. Eddie's awkward thank you card for the job lead at a legit shop. But beneath the mended seams, fissures lingered. Leo's big break landed, a Guggenheim Fellowship, 18 months split between New York and Berlin. Collaborative, he explained over takeout Thai, chopsticks pausing. Your input on the cultural installs. We make it ours. Alan's nod was measured, fortune cookie crumbling in his fist. Ours. Yeah. Berlin, cobbled streets, history's weight, a world away from subway grates and corner delis. Excitement warred with ache, their rhythm, hard won, now stretched thin. Packing became ritual. Leo's sketches boxed, Alan's manuscripts archived. Nights, they mapped the distance, video calls, weekend flights, a flat in Kreuzberg scouted online. Think sauerkraut and schnitzel, Leo joked, but his eyes held the unspoken. What if? Departure dawned crisp. JFK a swarm of harried travelers. Alan drove, radio low on Springsteen Thunder Road, irony thick. At the curb, they clung, kiss salt-edged. 6 weeks till I join, Alan murmured. Freelance anywhere, Leo's grin flashed. Better. Love you, Kowalski. Love you more. Hargrove. The plane's roar swallowed him, sky claiming its architect. Alan drove back solo, village streets echoing empty. The apartment gaped. Leo's scent fading from pillows, the balcony lonelier sans sketches. He dove into work, pitching a podcast on queer family dynamics, guests like Sarah sharing sibling lore. First call came glitchy, Berlin's signal spotty. Leo's face pixelated on screen, Brandenburg Gate framed behind. Miss your coffee breath already. How's the empty nest? Alan laughed, curled on the couch. Quiet. Mia's school play Eddie actually showed. Progress. Talk flowed. Exhibits. Edits. Ma's old recipes Sarah tweaked. But latency lagged. Pauses stretching awkward. Intimacy buffered. Weeks piled. Alan flew over, jet-lagged into Leo's flat, high-ceilinged, bookshelves groaning with Goethe and Wright. They reclaimed each other fierce, bodies mapping new territories, laughter echoing off beams. This city's got nothing on you, Leo breathed, post-tangle. But return soured sweet. Back in the village, Alan's pitches stalled, client ghosting, emails unanswered. Market's queer-phobic, he vented to Sarah over Zoom, her classroom chaos muted. Or me. Baggage king. Bull, she shot. You're the hook. Try the Times op-ed. Her nudge landed. Piece on family ATMs and the cost of coming out. Raw with letters echoes. Published Sunday. It exploded shares. Interviews. TEDx invite. Alan's star rose, but solitude shadowed. Empty bed. Leo's texts delayed by 9 hours. Cracks widened. A Berlin party. Leo's update casual. Networking. Met this curator. Alex. Sharp. Alan's reply pinged late. Cool. Pics. None came. Doubt festered. Old ghosts whispering. Not enough. He threw into routine. Runs turning marathon. Nights at queer bars. Flirting harmless. But the pull homeward stronger. Thanksgiving virtual. Sarah hosting Philly. Eddie zooming with Mia's turkey hat. Leo from a cafe. Snow-dusted spree behind. Laughter lagged. Toasts tinny. To us, Leo raised his mug. But Alan's screen froze mid-smile. Connection lost. December brought the storm. Alan's TEDx prep, Brooklyn stage. Rebuilding after betrayal. Hit fever pitch. Leo's fellowship buzzed. Press junkets. A feature in Der Spiegel. Calls shortened. Exhausted. Babe. Tomorrow, then, the snap. Holiday card from Connor. Forwarded. Innocuous, saw Leo's show. Drinks in Berlin, attached. A selfie. Arms slung. Grins too easy. Alan's text flew. What's this? Leo's reply, hours later, old friend. Deleted. Trust me? Trying. But sleep evaded. Ceiling stared down. Christmas Eve. Alan boarded Impulse. Red-eye to Berlin. Gift-wrapped memoir in his lap. Snow-blanketed Tegel. Cab weaving fairy-lit streets. Leo's flat glowed warm. He answered tousled, eyes widening. Al? What? Surprise. Alan stepped in. Shedding coat. Hurt and hope tangled. Missed you. Us. Leo's hug crushed. Then pulled back. Face crumpling. Shit. The card. Stupid. Connor cornered me at the gala. Tipsy. Persistent. Shut him down. But yeah. Photo op. For the network. Alan's nod ached. Felt like before. Like I'm waiting again. Leo led him to the couch. Tree twinkling, half decorated. You're not. This distance is killing me too. Fellowship's a cage. Deadlines. Egos. But you? My north. They talked till dawn. Fears unpacked. Boundaries redrawn. No X's. Full transparency. Text shared. Calls sacred. Renewal 3.0, Leo quipped. Kissing knuckles. Vows over glue wine. Christmas unfolded magic. Market strolls. Mulled wine steaming. Alan's book signing mobbed by expats. New Year's. Rhine fireworks boomed. Their kiss a vow against the void. Spring summoned return. Leo's fellowship capped. Brooklyn calling. Groundbreaking for the youth center. Ribbon cut. Alan emceeing. Leo's design gleaming steel and glass. A space for stories, he toasted. Arm around Alan. Summer bloomed full. Book 2 in works. Sarah's wedding. Alan's best man. Leo's speech slang. Eddie sober 6 months. Mia's braces gleaming. Family picnics tentative but true. One Labor Day Eve. Balcony sunset. City humming gold. Leo knelt again. Not vows, but promise. Adopt? With Sarah's nudge. Mia's visits. Our own. Alan's yes shattered stars. Yeah. Build it all. Years unspooled. Twins arrived via surrogate. Chaos and cuddles. Center thrived. Walls echoing youth's fire. Eddie's shop legit. Raise amends in AA shares. Ma's garden bloomed wild. Her ashes nourishing. 50. Alan traced Leo's grays. Their ink faded but fierce. Shocking truth, he murmured. Leo smiled. Timeless. We were the revelation. And in the American sprawl, from Brooklyn grit to Berlin frost, they endured. Human,